Province has been inflicted by heavy rains last year and leading into this year. A number of people have lost their lives and infrastructure has been damaged. We speak now to the Premier of the province, Nomusa Dube-Ncube, for an assessment of the officer's understanding. Ma'am, thank you very much for your time this morning, of the extent of damage, not only in terms of the infrastructure, but loss of life as of this third day of January.
Thank you very much, Tutuzile. Yes, good morning to you and also to your viewers at home. Our disaster management team are still combing the province to ensure that we reach out to all the communities that have been affected. We again send our condolences to all the families of the deceased, but also those that are still in hospital and those that are still missing. We are very saddened, Duzile, that we still have about 3 bodies that are missing to date. And the latest numbers of people that lost their lives are 30. That's where we are at the moment, which is a very sad situation.
And ma'am, what is the understanding in terms of the response to the disaster in the province, more so in December? We were following 2 families that lost 9 people at the same time, and they were combing through rivers barefoot, without even the necessary equipment that they needed. And so what is the understanding of government's response? Because you had a number of private players that were there on the scene immediately.
Yes, we are very grateful that we've had a number of, support, a number of community members, disaster management teams, but also the search and rescue team, including the search and rescue team that joined us from Johannesburg or from Gauteng, which we are very grateful for, because that allowed us to be able to recover as many bodies as we have been able to recover so far. And that is why we appreciate that. And of course, there has been a serious, loss to property as well as the livelihoods of people who've had their houses totally destroyed. And to date, we're sitting at about 663 households that have been affected, and about 140 houses that were totally destroyed and 517 partially destroyed. And that tells you that it's such a huge devastation. We've got about 21 families that are living with their loved ones. And in total, we're standing at about 2,995 community members that have been affected. And of course, from our side, Departments of Human Settlement, Department of Agriculture, Department of Transport, and Department of Education, Department of Home Affairs, they've all been, involved in ensuring that we give the identity documents, particularly to those families that needed to do the burials, because they needed the IDs so that they can access, the other documents for them to enable them to bury. And we've had others who've had to bury, half of their family members so that at least they can then continue trying to recover other bodies, while at least they would have laid others to rest. And these are all the interventions that we've had to put in place. Our condolences to the Msimang family, as you said, who've really lost quite a huge number of the family members, about 9 family members, including the wife of Mr. Msimango, as well as the grandchildren and the children who were all in the vehicle. And that's really been a very sad development.
Ma'am, unfortunately, we cannot have a commission of inquiry for nature, but is there something that your office or the government of KwaZulu-Natal is looking into? The University of KwaZulu-Natal, for instance, there are departments that do amazing work. We speak to some of them who head up infrastructure courses at the university, who talk about building climate-resistant spaces, more so when you speak of rural areas that are also prone to mudslides.
Yes, it is very true. We are exploring all partnerships that can assist us as a province to ensure that we build resilient infrastructure. As we build, that's why we say we build better, because of the lessons that we've learned. I mean, even the infrastructure such as bridges and other infrastructure that we are building, we're building even more better now, but we're also trying to remove some of the infrastructure, particularly that is lying in the low-lying areas that are prone to water, rising. And those areas, we always, encourage people to move away from the rivers, because the many incidents that we see to Duzile is that people are building so close to the rivers. Even when you remove them, you find that others would come back and stay in those particular areas. But also one other difficulty that in particular on this, cases of the 18th to the 25th of December, there were weather alerts that we received from the South African Weather Services, and we do issue those weather alerts, including even on local radio stations and on social media, to say, please do not travel when it's not necessary. And the large number of people that lost their lives are those that were in cars. And when the bridges and the water was too much on the roads, and the cars could not, sustain the amount of water, and cars were wiped away. And that's the major problems, that people also need to adhere to this, weather alerts that are given. But also even within ourselves, we are now trying to see what else can we do in terms of our early warning systems, so that like we've received over the weekend that there were districts that were going to be affected by the rains over the weekend. And in that case, you need to be able to intensify our communications with those particular people and those communities, so that they know that it's really, really dangerous for them, to travel, or which areas they should not be able to travel to.
Okay. You mentioned low-lying bridges. I'd like for us to take a listen at this, because Newzroom Africa's Karinda Jagmohan is in the rural area of Ndwedwe, and this is what the one community member had to say. We'll give you context in a few moments, but let's just take a listen at this.
So from 2017 it's not inkinga. Siphila lempilo nje siphilayo. And akuweleki la. Izolo size sahamba safuna ama danger tape ukuthi abantu bangangena emanzini. Ngoba abantu bangena emanzini bese kuneyinkinga ke njalo.
So, ma'am, while we appreciate that this happened before your time, before you were Premier of KwaZulu-Natal back in 2017, perhaps we'll follow up with you a little bit later on in the year, and maybe your investigations would have revealed what happened, that this bridge is not done. But for the purpose of today, you've got a number of men who are on this low-lying bridge, who are walking barefoot, who have just shovels. Maybe there's 2-3 shovels that we spotted. They've had to hire a truck, and you can see it's quite aged, to deliver the sand. They've had to put together rocks there so that at least there is something that holds the water, and it doesn't look, even from an uneducated space, one can tell that this might not hold. Are you able to make a commitment at least that you will send a team to Ndwedwe this morning, where Karinda Jagmohan is, with these men that can at least assist them?
Yes, definitely. We always do that, Duzile. We do have communities that do write to our office and give us this information, and we immediately send teams, because you've got to now go and investigate, as you correctly say, what can be done to assist those communities, what kind of bridge is necessary, whether it's a vehicular bridge or it's a bridge for walking or for our communities, and that work we are able to do. We even sometimes involve the South African Defence Force that help us to at least build something quickly that will allow those people to be safe, while we then have a long-term solutions. So I can say safely that we will be sending a team to go and investigate what can be done to assist those communities.
Will they be able to reach the community of Ndwendwe today?
We have to reach those communities today because we cannot afford to lose any life because of our delays.
Okay. We'll put your team in touch with our team on the ground in
Please,
KwaZulu.
we will appreciate that.
As we speak, ma'am. Thank you very much for your time this morning. KwaZulu-Natal Premier Nomusa Dube-Ncube.